Here are my tips on how to make any planner layout work for you. Hey y'all, I'm Elisa, the Scrappy Wife behind ScrappyWife.com, and I'm here to tell you that I'm not sure planner peace totally exists. And here's what I'm talking about. I think that planner peace is something you create, not something you find. We're often searching for the perfect planner, something that works for everything we're looking for. And the truth is, I think you can make almost any planner layout work for you and the things you're wanting to track. Now, here's what changes from person to person: how they like to see things in their planner, how they like the flow of their planner, how busy they want their planner. Those are going to be personal preferences, but you truly can make any layout work for you. And we're going to talk through that today. I have several different planner layouts here, and I'm going to show you how I try to figure out how to make a layout work. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to grab at least 2 different planner layouts. If you don't have different ones, maybe even sketch one out on a sheet just to give you an idea. And then I want you to grab some Post-it notes. Post-it notes are going to be really important in this process. So grab your supplies and then let's dive in and see how we can make any planner layout work for you. Okay. So the first thing you are going to do is take your Post-it notes and you're going to write on the Post-it notes what you want to track on this particular planner layout. How much do you want on one thing? So for instance, I think one of the first things people like to track would be their schedule. So the schedule for the week, what is going on during the week? Now, this is different. Some of you have a lot going on. Some of you might have a home schedule and a work schedule. Some of you don't have as much going on, and so you don't actually really need to track your schedule week to week. You might keep that on the monthly. This is not something that's important to you. But for most people, I'm just going to put schedule. If it's work and home, if you need those separated out, then you need to create 2 Post-it notes for those. Then I'm going to add tasks, and that's going to be tasks like to-dos. To me, that's the same as errands, chores, just things that need to get done in a week. Those might be habitual things, things that you do each and every week, day in and day out, or it might be things that are specific to a certain week, preparing for a birthday, sending a card, things like that. Something else that I am frequently planning for in my planner, it may or may not be something you plan, is a meal plan. I need to know what the plan is for eating on most days. Are we eating out? Are we grabbing something on the go? Am I prepping food? What does the meal plan for the week look like? Something else I do like to track is wellness. Now, that's going to look different for different people. For me, that tends to look like exercise, writing down what I did on that particular day. For you, it might look like food tracking. For you, it might be checking off that you've taken medicine on a certain day or at a certain time. For you, it might be, are you doing self-care? It might be a more mental wellness or emotional wellness, whatever wellness means to you. And if you need to track different things or you want to write about different things, just make different Post-it notes for that purpose. Those are my big things. Some other things that I have included or I like to include in my planner would be gratitude, a place to track gratitude, or some of you like to do some faith in your planner, whether it be a prayer list, a scripture that you're writing each week, something like that. Maybe you're tracking which verses or books of the Bible you're reading, whatever the case may be. You might have a faith section. There's a lot of different sections. You could even have perhaps a budget section. Good thing I got a lot of Post-it notes, huh? So you could have budget slash finances. So maybe you're writing down the spending or bills or whatever the case may be. That would be another section that you could do. There's a lot of different sections. I want you to write down all of the things that you are wanting to track, and then we can dig into how to make that work in each different planner layout. All right, let's start with the quad layout. I love this quad layout. I find it so pleasing to the eye because it's so symmetrical. I like that each day is its own thing. If you are someone that likes to treat each day uniquely and not necessarily see a whole week, but go day to day, this makes a lot of sense to me. So let's start to figure out. Here's what you do to figure out how to make a layout work for you instead of pulling out the stickers and starting to decorate and just seeing that part of it. I want you to take time with the Post-it notes and figure out what is going to go where. Here's what I mean. So for instance, schedule, that's going to go on day to day. You're going to have a schedule. Maybe your schedule is at the bottom of each day. Maybe it's at the top of each day. These are where the scheduled appointments and things for each day are going to go. If I wanted, I could do a separate Post-it note for each of these days that said schedule, schedule, schedule to make sure that they were covered like this. Let me see if I have enough little Post-it notes over here. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me cut just a couple more. All right, so we're going to say that all of those are scheduling. Okay, the other thing that I am going to add into this is going to be tasks. So I'm going to do that as a daily thing. So each day, again, I could do one here. So schedule and tasks day to day, that makes sense to me. Then I'm going to take Faith over here, and I'm going to include that on Sunday because A, that's when I go to church. Maybe this is where I'm keeping my prayer list over here because I might have less tasks on that day. Maybe that's where I'm writing a scripture verse. Something in this general area is going to be where I have a faith reference in my planner each week. For wellness, that's going to be, I think we're going to have to do wellness over here. I think that's going to make sense. Whatever habits, whatever wellness things I'm tracking, that can go right here. For gratitude, that might be on certain days of the week. Maybe that is underneath tasks. Maybe I'm doing gratitude, schedule tasks and gratitude each day. Here's a tricky one. Meal planning, I'm going to put up here. What if I tend to plan for 3 homemade meals. What if I just had 3 boxes up here that listed my meals each week and that was my reference point? Now, the thing that I did not get to fit on this would be budget and finances. This might look different. Maybe you're tracking bills and you just need certain boxes on certain days. So then this would end up over here, whatever the case may be. But this gives you an opportunity to kind of think and plan. And maybe you're like, you know what? I don't need that much. I don't need gratitude every day. What I need is my meal every day. And then I'm just going to write one thing I'm grateful for at the top each week. Or maybe I'm writing a scripture up here. And then at the end of the week, I'm doing gratitude so I can figure out what's going to go where. Maybe I don't have a lot going on for schedule, so I don't really need that. I like a list each day. And I also want to track finances each day. And I will put my appointments in one box over here. And so you can see how you start to switch things up, and it just makes it easy to kind of picture what the page may look like and how you can figure out where those things are going to go. So that was the quad layout. Let's take some of the same categories. Let's move all of our extra Post-its. I know they're bright. They're going to get all over the place. Post-its everywhere. You can even color code your Post-its for some of the different categories. So keep that in mind. That's the quad layout. Let's check out our next layout, the horizontal layout, which I absolutely love. Here's what I would do immediately. Here's what I am thinking for the horizontal layout. I like the schedule on the edge of each day. So I'm thinking like a little column. I would even almost like section off a place like this and be like, all right, this is schedule. And then I might do a section for meal planning, meaning I'm literally going to like box off a section right here for meal planning each week. And then I might also track budget up here as well, either spending or bills that are due that particular week. That works well for me. Tasks and to-dos, that's going to have to go on this. Again, I don't think you're probably filling up all of those days each and every day, or all of those lines each and every day. So tasks and to-dos may well go with wellness. Or if I don't have a lot going on schedule-wise, maybe schedule and wellness are going together. I know what my appointments are and I know what I exercised on that particular day. So that leaves gratitude and faith that have not found a place. I could add my own extra box here at the end of the week, which I often like to do to track gratitude throughout the week. And then for faith, that might look different. It might be that this is in a different planner, or it might be that I have one section in one day that doesn't have a lot going on, where I also have a prayer list or a scripture verse or a Bible reference. Whatever the case may be, I might be able to fit in otherwise. So in this setup, if I were looking at this, I would think, okay, faith, I'm not totally sure about, but everything else seems to fit in. So maybe I need something different for faith. Or perhaps you want this to be primarily faith. So you're like, hey, my faith is going right there, and I have a schedule each day. Faith and schedule covered. Then you might think, I don't really need meal plan and I don't do budgeting, but I do like gratitude. So that's important. I want to do that. And then these are my tasks for the week. So that way you're like, I don't really need those other things. I will track them or look at them in different ways, but this is faith. I have a quick glance at my schedule for the week. I have gratitude and a quick look at the to-dos for the week, and keep it simpler. It all depends on what works for you. All right, next up is one of my favorite layouts, because man, can you fit a lot in this particular layout. So let's start. Schedule is going to be pretty important. I think that's pretty obvious. Schedule will go over here with your days of the week. I happen to dig having the meal plan right here just because I can see it as compared to what's going on a particular day. Tasks and to-dos makes total sense right there. I would probably have gratitude right here. And then I could create 3 separate sections: wellness, budget, and faith over here. You can fit so much in a dashboard layout. You can fit so much. I love it. Perhaps you don't have as many tasks and to-dos, or perhaps you want to divide this up. I might do faith over here. Maybe this is a prayer list, and I'm just going to include tasks with my schedule over here. That gives me more room for these things. Or maybe I'm wanting to do wellness right here, budget and finances like this, gratitude, changing things up. Maybe meal plan makes sense near budget and gratitude. So, or meal plan makes sense near finances because they kind of go together. We'll track gratitude over here. You can see how easily you can kind of figure out what makes sense. It depends on how much room you need for each category, but it can all fit in there. You might have to make some compromises, but you can make any layout work. I would say the dashboard layout is probably the one where you can fit the most in there. So much fits in the dashboard layout. It's one of the reasons it's one of the most popular layouts out there. Last but not least today, let's take a look at the vertical layout. Vertical layout, this one is very, very popular, and there's lots of ways to look at it. And I think that's one of the reasons why people think it's really, why people love this layout. I'm going to give you a different way to look at it. So a lot of us would keep our schedule, like I do, up here in each day. But what if you don't have a ton going on? What if you want to keep your schedule over here in the left-hand sidebar, a running list of what's happening that week? Maybe you have a handful of appointments or a meeting. Otherwise, it's the same day in, day out, and you don't need all the schedule. That is awesome because that gives you the chance to change things up. So you have lots of room for your tasks and to-dos throughout the week. You can track finances very easily throughout the week. I would probably include meal plan up near the tasks and to-dos. And then this gives you the option. You're going to put wellness at the bottom, faith, gratitude. Which one are you going to do at the bottom? Love, love, love that. Maybe you want to go something a little bit more classic, so you do want your schedule here at the top. It just makes sense for you. I also think that makes sense for a meal plan. Schedule a meal plan to happen at the top. Perhaps you're tracking budgeting and finances over here in the left-hand sidebar. Wellness might be something that's high on your list. It might be going in the middle, and then tasks and to-dos. Maybe you have just a running task list over here, or maybe you're tracking it day by day in the bottom. That leaves gratitude and faith without a place to live on your page. And those might be, I want a special box for that, or those might be, those need to go on a different spread. It kind of depends on how much room you're wanting. For me, my faith needs its own spread just because I write a lot in my faith planner. Like I said, it just depends. But you can see there's lots of different ways to move that or to change things up. Maybe the wellness part is super important for you. So you need lots of room for your meal planning. You need lots of room for wellness. You need lots of room for gratitude. And then maybe you're having tasks over here. It just, I love using the Post-it notes because it makes you kind of think outside the box. How can I change things up? How can I make it work? And I love seeing that, and I love experimenting with it. So it may sound a little silly, but if you take time planning for your planner, take time planning with how you want your layout to function, where things can go and where you think that they should go. Experiment with that using the Post-it note method, and that allows you to kind of think outside the box. Don't immediately start putting pen to paper or putting stickers to paper. That's going to start to box you in an unpleasant way. Using the Post-it note method, you're able to change things up and experiment before you start writing things down. And then you can save those Post-it notes if it doesn't work for you one week. Pull out the Post-its, try a different setup next week and give it another try. You're going to be able to hone in on something that works really well for you, pretty much with any layout that you are currently using. All right, so here's the $1 million question. What layouts have you tried? What has worked for you and what has not worked for you, and why? Let us know in the comments below. I love it when people leave the comments because a ton of other people are also reading your comments and learning from you. You all are super smart, super creative people. So when you contribute down there, it helps us all out. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. I hope that you have an absolutely fabulous day. And as always, keep it creative.